They say the dead speak only to those who still listen. If that's true, then I have listened too long. My name is not important. Names are fragile things when you carry the stories of the damned. I have walked the roads where silence hides thunder, stood at the gates of homes that breathed fear, and seen faces that never left me, even in dreams. Tonight, I will tell you of 5 truths. Truths that refuse to rest. Truths that cling to me like smoke after fire. If you stay till the end, you'll understand why some stories are not told to frighten you, but to warn you. Before we begin these 5 true stories that still echo in the dark, make sure to like, follow, and subscribe. It helps keep this channel alive, and it lets me keep bringing you the truths most people can't bear to face. The farmhouse of unseen eyes in Bavaria. I once knew a house that breathed in whispers. The villagers called it Hinterkaifeck, a place where shadows stayed longer than men. Old Andreas Gruber and his family lived there, far from the village road, where the crows outnumbered the visitors. He came to me once, Andreas did, said he heard footsteps in his attic. Footsteps that walked when no one was home. He showed me footprints in the snow, leading from the forest to his door, but never back again. That night, the wind carried no scent of safety. The new maid arrived with trembling hands, and before the moon could tilt twice, 6 souls met the mattock's edge. But here's what still curls in my spine. The killer stayed. He lived among the dead. He fed the cattle, lit the hearth, and slept under the same roof as the cold. For 3 days, the chimney smoked like nothing had happened. And I swear to you, when we found the bodies, the barn was quiet, but the air remembered screaming. You see, evil doesn't always come from the woods. Sometimes it walks through snow and never looks back. Those who've heard this part never sleep the same again. So, if you've come this far, listen. The next chapter isn't for the faint of heart. And if you want to keep walking these roads of mystery with me, please like, follow, and subscribe. The next chapter isn't for the faint of heart. Then there was a night of ash and bells. Christmas Eve, 1945. A home in Fayetteville, West Virginia, the Sutters, laughter, ribbons, the hum of innocence. But joy is fragile when watched by fate. The fire began just after midnight. I stood on that hill when the flames clawed at the dark. George Sutter tried everything, his ladder vanished. His trucks would not start, the phone line hissed, cut clean when the embers cooled. There were no bones, no teeth, no trace of 5 children. Only melted toys, and a mother's scream that still shakes the dust of that land. Years passed, and letters came, a photograph of a man who looked like the lost boy Lewis, grown and haunted. The envelope had no return. Only eyes that looked to knowing. I've seen many ghosts, but none more restless than a mother who refuses to bury air. If you've journeyed with me this far, then brace yourself. The peace you've known in this story is about to break, and what follows will leave a scar. Far north, in Norway's Estelle, I found her, the woman who burned but would not vanish. The snow around her was pure, but her story was not. Her tags were cut from her clothes, her hands smelled of perfume and fear. In her suitcase, wigs, glasses, and a code no one could read. She had many names, none her own. They said she was a spy. But I saw her eyes before the frost took them, not of a traitor, but of someone who had run too long. Even in death, she hid her truth. Perhaps that was her power. To be seen by everyone, and known by none. The police called it suicide, but I call it erasure. And I've learned the world is crueler to women who know too much. By the time I reached Los Angeles, I had learned that evil wears many suits, sometimes silk, sometimes skin. The Cecil Hotel, a place where dreams come to die quietly. I was the night guard then, the one who saw Eliza Lamb drift through the lobby, headphones in, eyes bright, spirit untamed. Days later, she was gone. And the elevator, that cursed box of mirrors, it showed her final dance. She pressed every button, peeked into the hall, moved her hands like she was speaking to the air. When they found her, she was floating where no living soul should be, inside the rooftop tank, sealed away, while the city drank her ghost. They said it was an accident. But I remember that week, the water tasted sweet, and every mirror in that hotel seemed to blink. And finally, Japan, 1984, the year fear learned to write letters. They called themselves the monster with 21 faces, but I knew them as laughter made of smoke. They kidnapped, they poisoned, they mocked the police with words sharper than blades. Danger, their candy boxes said, if you eat this, you will die. They played with the nation's nerves like a drum. One officer, too proud to fail, ended his own story with a gun. The monster replied, "We are bad guys, but we have humor." Then they vanished. No rest. No justice. Just a whisper that still follows the wind in Osaka. And a voice that says, "We only bully the police now." And I still hear their laughter in vending machines at night. 5 stories. 5 wounds. Different lands, same shadow. What ties them together is not blood nor time, but the quiet truth that monsters look like us. They shop, they smile, they tuck their children into bed. They whisper prayers with hands that have done unspeakable things. If you've stayed this far, perhaps you understand. I do not tell these stories for fear, but for remembrance, because forgetting is how evil breeds again. So if you walk away tonight, leave a mark behind, light a candle. Click the sign of the flame, so that the darkness knows you are watching too. Until the next night, remember, the scariest stories are the ones still waiting for an ending. At True Crime Uncovered, we shine a light where justice never reached, and tell the stories others forgot.